Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. Today, I have a real treat for you. I'm here with Mark Tremonti, Myles Kennedy from Alterbridge. We're setting up before the concert. You guys just finished your sound check, getting ready to play this evening. Appreciate you taking the time to come in and talk to us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Myles, you've had quite a storied career. You started out in Spokane, got into bands there. You played some jazz fusion, played some more R&B kind of things, and then you were on a band that toured with Creed.
Right.
And was that the first place where you guys had connected or where you met?
Yeah. That was the Mayfield 4 era. So we actually toured together in the summer of 1998, and that was where I guess they got familiar with what I did and whatnot. We actually didn't spend a lot of time together. That's why I was so surprised when they called. Mark called late 2003. It was like 5 years later. So and then Alterbridge was born.
Right. So, Mark, what led you to call Myles? Because you had ended Creed, and we're moving on to the new band. What had led you to the vocalist that you have now?
Well, as Creed was coming to an end, we kind of looked at all our contemporaries and saw who was, which bands were still together, which guys were available, and who had played with in the past. And Myles stuck out as being the guy, And I think a buddy of mine gave me his CD, and I listened to it. And I was very excited to see if he'd be interested. And I called, and he was down with the cause and flew down. And January 2nd, 2004 was pretty much our inception.
Right. Now, you brought Myles in as vocalist, but obviously there's a big bonus there because he's a great guitar player as well. How has that changed your approach to Alterbridge?
I think it helped us gain our own sound from, our biggest struggle had been three guys from one band always being labeled as that band part two. Now we have a whole different dynamic within this band with Myles on guitar, and it's a layer that we didn't have in the past with Creed, so it made Alterbridge really stand out as a different band, different sound.
Right. Now, Myles, you've had the enviable position of working with three great guitar players. You work with Mark, you spent some time with Jimmy Page, and you're also the vocalist in Slash's band. As a guitar player, what have you taken away from those three different experiences?
I've learned a lot. It's been pretty amazing for me to get to play with guys of this caliber, and then as a guitar player, pick up on those concepts, those ideas, and learn how to incorporate them into my own style. And it's been great. I think if I wasn't a guitar player, it would be like, not as big a deal. But as a guitar player, when you're playing with, the best guys in the world, then it's awesome.
Right, an amazing opportunity to learn from the best. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was listening to Soundcheck, and what really struck me was how big your guitar tones are. Both of you guys have really big guitar tones. Can you talk a little bit about what your philosophy is on achieving those tones?
With mine, I'm a big believer in having two amps for each, for your rhythm tone to have two different amps. Where I use a Mesa Boogie for the tight cut, and then I use a Wagner Ubershaw for that more warm. It still has a lot of attack, but has a little bit of sponginess to it. Together, they fill a bunch of frequencies that make a big, massive wall.
Right.
I'm an amp addict. I've got probably 20 different heads, and every time we do rehearsals, I'll always pull in all my new amps and see which ones sound best. And I haven't been able to beat the Ubershaw Boogie combo in years and years now.
And Myles, how about you? How do you go about achieving your guitar tone?
Well, I basically build it around what he's built. So once he's been with the Ubershaw now and the Mesa for I don't know how many years. So it's been pretty consistent, and so it's a matter of filling in the frequencies that he's not using. And the amp, after going through quite a few amps myself, the amp that was the clear winner was the Diesel Herbert, because it has a lot of depth, and it has a very modern rock sound, high gain, but it's something very unique about that amp on the top end, and it complements his sound nicely. And I think that's part of how we get our the wall of guitar is it's filling in frequencies. It's not walking all over each other's frequencies, because for a while I was using Mesa as well, which I love. I love the Mark IV, and I've been a Mesa guy for forever. The only problem was the front of house guy would be like, well, I'm having to pull that amp down a little bit because it's kind of running into Mark's frequencies. So it's all a matter of just
Trying to complement
filling
each
in the
other.
holes, you know.
Right, right. Now, as a vocalist, you've talked about in the past how you've really been influenced by R&B, and in particular Stevie Wonder. And you also have you also brought that to your guitar playing as well? How does that kind of inform the way you approach things?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I guess a soul R&B funk side to where I came from as a musician, and you know, especially as a singer. But as a guitar player, I for years played in kind of R&B cover bands, so that definitely rubbed off on me.
Right.
And I don't really use any of that in Alterbridge because it's the feel is completely different.
But achieving that rhythm, the rhythm guitar kind of an approach that an R&B guy has to still kind of affect how you approach playing.
I think, yeah,
rhythm
probably to a point. Yeah, you definitely are. I definitely learned a lot from all that stuff. You know, playing Nile Rodgers stuff and
Right.
all that. You know, great rhythm players in the funk world. You know.
Right, right. Now, Mark, your setup is unique because you also carry a rack for your monitors that you run your guitars through. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with that?
Well, for years in the beginning of touring arenas and big theaters, I would always have problems with my monitors, and instead of having to keep on shouting back and forth, turn this up, turn that down, I just decided one day, I think one of my techs, but maybe even Ernie said, why don't we get your own monitor rig here so you can just do it yourself, and one of the best decisions I've made. That way I don't have to, there's no middleman. I can just go in and as sound check, it's just as important to get my monitor sounding good as it is my back line, and during the show I have it right there to tweak along the way.
Right. Do those monitors carry vocals as well, or is that just for your guitar tone?
The big monitors are my guitars alone, and then my third monitor, which is just my vocals, and then the side fills are the rest of the band.
Right, right. So let's talk a little bit about PRS guitars. Mark, you actually have the honor of being the second person to get a signature guitar from PRS, and I think at this point, depending on how you count, you probably have the most signature guitars as well. Something like, depending again on how you count, something like 5 different models. Is that right?
Right. Well, we've had the original model with the fixed bridge, and we had the model with the bar, and we've had the tribal edition, and the SE, and now recently they've just released it in all different kind of colors and finishes. So.
Right. What led you to, how did you connect with Paul in the first place, and what led you to kind of adopt his guitars as your main instruments?
Well, I remember we had gotten all of our gear stolen, and we had a big insurance check.
Right.
Used my insurance money to buy a PRS, and when I played it on stage, the setup was different because I grew up playing Les Pauls and used to the toggle switch being up here and the 4 knobs, and Jeff Lanham from PRS called me up and asked me if I'd be interested in endorsing their guitars, and he sent me a McCarty. Absolutely love it, still have it today, and it's I've written a lot of music on it, but same thing, that the setup or the feel was just a little different than I'm used to. I'm used to a heavier guitar. At that point, all the PRS pickups were kind of more for a blues player or rock players, but not more that heavy metal sound.
Right.
So they sent me another guitar with Dragon 2 pickups in it, and the same thing happened. Just the feel of the weight wasn't quite right. So from me being picky, I got the privilege of them asking if I'd want to do a signature model. So I think it was about the third round of going back and forth before we had it all dialed in, and then I think they wound up about 10 pickups from just tighter and tighter and tighter until it was I think it was the third or fourth one that we plugged in, and from there on out, it was just my favorite guitar on earth.
Right, right. Now, Myles, you also play PRSs.
Yeah.
You play a variety of different models, mainly the SCs, but I've also heard you talking about the DGTs.
Yeah, I love the
We've had David Grissom here on the Sweetwater Minute and done some interviewing with him.
Yeah.
What is it about that model that you like?
It's just, I'll never forget, we were at the PRS Experience. No, it wasn't the Experience, it was NAMM years ago, before that guitar had been released, and he got on stage and played, and I was standing out front, and I was like, wow, I mean, his tone is just like unbelievable. So
Right.
I went back and I asked him, I was like, tell me what's going on, why is your guitar different? And he explained it was a prototype and they're getting ready to release it, and there's just something about that guitar and the finish they use and that pickup. It's very, it just sings. It's very vocal, and it's a great lead guitar. I absolutely love it. The main guitar that I've used for years has been the 245.
Okay.
the scaled down version of the 250.
Mhm.
And it really, just something special, something about that especially for rhythm, for the heavy stuff.
Right.
It's, with amps and guitars, it's all, I think, who said it? Keith Richards said, it's all about the kind of the combination. Once you find that combination, for some reason, at 245, going into the Herbert, there's just something that sits really well with his tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just they just sent me a while ago the signature model, which is like the nicest guitar I've ever had in my life. It's
Right.
a stunning instrument, so I'm going to start incorporating that
Mhm.
as well. It's so beautiful and so nice. I feel like I should even play it. It's
Right.
like this work of art, but guitars are meant to be played.
Sure. And that model has a really interesting pickup setup. Because
Yeah.
when you tap it, it doesn't do a full tap.
Right.
So you're not getting just a humbucking single coil switch. It's kind of a in-between kind of thing. Gives you more output.
Yeah, it's interesting. My favorite sound on that guitar is when you flip it up, and I believe it's kind of the tap, whatever, because it sounds like a cross between a P90 and a lipstick.
Mhm.
And it's very unique. I think I remember when Paul called and he was all excited. He said, "Man, I really want you to try this guitar." And Paul gets so excited. It's
Right.
it's very it
a
definitely
baby.
rubs off on. Yeah, exactly. And that's why we love that company, because of the passion is just it's just unbelievable.
Right.
It's like family too. So.
Right, right. Have you guys played any of the acoustics?
Yep.
The Angelus or?
I got one.
Yeah, and how do you like that?
Oh, for fingerstyle, it's my favorite guitar. I mean, it's the loudest guitar I've ever played.
I don't have one.
Not yet, right?
Great guitar.
Right.
It really is. It really. I think I heard McManus. What's
Tony McManus.
Tony McManus play it.
Tony's incredible.
And Ricky Skaggs was playing one years ago, and I was just like, wow. I mean, that's something else.
There's
A lot of it
Tony.
was just those guys in their hands as well, obviously. But they.
Then you play it, it doesn't sound good.
That's not nice.
I was talking about me.
Well, that's true with me as well, but it's still a great sounding,
Right, they're beautiful
guitar.
instruments.
Absolutely.
Right, right. So what's next for you guys? You're on tour with Alterbridge and you're heading to Europe to do some festivals and things over there, is that correct? And then what does the rest of the year look like?
We just announced a tour in Australia.
Mhm.
We'll get to play a bunch of shows at the same stage with Van Halen, which is going to be exciting for us. And then we head back to Europe for just a headlining tour till December.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the solo albums, what's happening with those?
We've decided we're gonna put them together and release a double album.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
We're just trying to find a window to release them.
Mhm.
That's the trick with our schedules as busy as ours. It would really be a drag to put a ton of work into something and then just kind of throw it out there and not promote it somehow and do
Sure.
some little small tour. And that was kind of, at least for me, my intention was to have something where I could just go out with me and an acoustic guitar and just play the record and keep it real stripped down and simple. So hopefully one day.
Right. And we were talking earlier, we'll wrap things up here, but we were talking earlier, you both mentioned your Sweetwater customers.
Yes,
Absolutely
yes.
loyal.
Yeah? And you said it was the candy that led
It's
you
the
to...
candy. I mean, I
What else
got
would
my.
it be, right?
I opened it up and I was like, "There's candy in here." I get this great audio interface and some candy.
I didn't get any candy.
Oh, well,
You didn't?
Send me an email, I'll get you some candy, I'll make sure, we'll make that right for you.
No candy and no
Right, sugar.
Angelus.
Bought the Apogee duet, and I didn't get any candy.
Oh, well, we'll take care of that. I promise we'll take care of that. Guys, thanks so much for taking the
Thank
time to
you.
listen. I really appreciate it. Myles,
Right on. Thank you.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute.